Hello. I am very well. How are you doing today?
I am doing very well, thank you. Getting through the technical difficulties within YouTube is quite fun.
That's how we like to start things and keep things a bit fresh. Yeah.
Right, exactly. It's the only way. So we had a super interesting video go out on Sunday
Yes.
about this very mysterious UFO
Yes.
that prompted a phone call from this young man, and his whole family were actually there.
Yep.
I just put the video of the UFO that was caught on the police camera. This was initially
Excellent.
prompted the 911 call. And what happened was is the guy said that there was large aliens,
Mm-hmm.
eh,
10 foot?
10 foot. That's right. 10-foot aliens,
Yeah.
which were in his yard, and he called 911. Strange thing is, right here, this UFO that's showing on screen right now was seen
Mm-hmm.
blurring across the sky, or glaring across the sky, I guess, if you like. I got some close-ups of it here. I sent you these pictures earlier. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
what is interesting is that this thing is constantly changing shape
And
uh,
color.
and color, and of course,
Yes.
it's got that deep blue. Um, and then this interview happened.
Mm-hmm.
Oh gosh, it was a week ago. He
Mm-hmm.
springs back up after staying away from public view and the public eye,
Yeah.
talks to the mainstream media. They have no trespassing signs in and around their property. They've had multiple break-ins just from the general public breaking into the property just out of pure interest.
Mm-hmm.
But he comes back with this story that the house is now haunted. He's
Yeah.
had a crucifix thrown across the floor. Let's just have a quick look at a part of this interview right here.
I was in the
Yeah.
other room.
Just
My
go
brother
through
told
the
me there
clip.
was
That would
a
be great.
upside down cross, and there was a Jesus statue in it. They ripped Jesus out of it. They threw him like across the room, and it was floating upside down.
Are you saying
For
floating in the air?
yeah, like in the air, it was floating upside down.
What did you do? I mean, did you go pick it up? Did you knock it down? Like how?
No, I didn't do nothing. I was just sitting there. I was crazy. I was like, what?
But how did it come down? It's not still floating right now, is it?
No, no, it came down. So we got closer to it and then it dropped.
It fell to the ground. A crucifix
Yeah,
floating in the air, upside down. The Jesus on the crucifix had been ripped off,
yeah.
and it was floating.
Yep.
And you can say definitively, without lies, that that is what you saw.
Yes, yes. Swear to God, that's what I saw.
What do you believe that is? How could something like that happen? That's not physically possible in this world.
That's not physically possible in this world. So this crucifix flew across the room,
Mm-hmm.
separating what he said was Jesus from, those crucifix with
Yeah.
Jesus in the center
Sacred
of them.
object.
Hmm.
Yeah, the Catholic version has Jesus on the cross, which is what makes it the crucifix, and Protestants have the cross after resurrection, so Jesus is not on the cross. So essentially what they're saying is this activity removed Jesus from the cross, which for Catholics is a massive sacrilege against a sacred object.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean it's scary. It puts chills down your spine thinking about that
Yep.
because obviously, there's some real good cases in history of people being possessed. There's many movies on it. The Emily Rose
Mm-hmm.
story,
Mm-hmm.
which is true, from Germany. So I mean, so you get this 911 call. You have a 9-foot being in your backyard. You call the police. The police attend, saying that they'd seen a UFO. This is police footage that's on the screen right now, saying they'd seen a
Mm-hmm.
UFO. They go out of the public view for 12 months. They come back into the public view, and now they come back with this story of there being, for lack of a better word, a haunting within their home, where things are moving around and floating in midair. And it didn't end there
Mm-hmm.
because this crucifix, after it exploding Jesus off the cross,
Yeah. Well,
is
the
hung upside
symbology
down.
is huge there. So there's kind of, as you know, I studied religious history for years, and these stories are not new. There is an official office in the Catholic Church for exorcisms. Protestants have their own. And of course, it's come under fire a lot recently in terms of pop culture or views about it, because people don't necessarily believe there's anything concrete to people's experiences with this. So it's actually something that's currently very much under the microscope, getting a lot of secular pressure from outside of the church. However, at the same time that secular pressure is there, there is an unprecedented number and reports within the Catholic Church for the need for exorcisms and the need for intervention with otherworldly presences in people's homes. So what I find really interesting is, like, people get really caught up on labels people use for things. But what were the distinctive items? One was objects floating, two was 10-foot beings, three is other mysterious activities around the house. And for regardless of what people's background is, religious or scientific, those experiences are throughout history and known to have occurred. What makes this special, I think, is anyone who comes from that Catholic background would see this as specifically antagonistic towards their sacred items. So I was having a bit of a think, Paul, and I was thinking about what could possibly be behind the history of sacred objects being the force of opposition to these nefarious beings or energies in somebody's house. Because again, we don't know if the 10-foot beings are actually responsible for what's happening for the house, or if, let's say it is something that cracked space and time and other entities have come through that portal. We don't actually know if these are directly connected or coincidental, because there's very little to measure them. Anyhow, you can hear I can go on 10 different tangents with this, but it's actually quite exciting to think about. So are these people experiencing, let's say, the results of a rift? Are these people experiencing nefarious beings and their intelligent interactions with the environment, i.e. able to move the physical boundaries, which has been reported in the increased requests from exorcisms around the world? And those are the questions I kind of wish there was more information on. But really, I mean, no amount of searching on different web browsers came up with many results. It's as if the common chatter you would have gotten 4 or 5 years ago before AI hit the web, you could get a lot more anecdotal responses from people. Like, what are their stories? What are their experiences? But I have found nothing about people saying, hey, have you considered this might be responsible for what's happening with the crucifix? Like, nothing. It's like radio silence. What are your thoughts on that, Paul?
Well,
I know I threw a lot there.
No, you definitely did. But it's interesting because, something like possession is something that has really gone out of the mainstream, if you like. People don't tend to talk about it anymore. I mean, of course, you have a few horror stories, which are, total sci-fi. I mean, it doesn't even resemble some of the things. In fact, I would almost say it doesn't go far enough for some of the possessions that I've seen. And you can go on, and it's daunting. You can go on YouTube and you can find, I think her name was Michaels, who was part of the Emily Rose story. Now, what really scares me about this is that the crucifix is upside down and it's hanging there. Like at that point, I don't know about you, Beth, but I move out of the house.
Exactly. Yeah, put it up as an Airbnb. When there's a presence in a place that's tangible, I would say the majority of humans.
I mean, this has had so many strange complications with.
I'm telling you, the whole day's been like that. So when did we get punted?
Well, we're back.
So it punted us off and brought us back.
It did, yeah. I mean, I think
that's been the whole day.
Yeah. Well, especially with this story, like every time I tried to record something about this story, it would glitch. The equipment wouldn't work properly. Like whenever you pull electronics and paranormal together, there's a connection there on a level that we just can't comprehend. And how we go offline, like we just did now, telling the story. And
Yeah.
I think again, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to where we broke it down. So this has three events. First of all, it has the UFO, which I'm showing on the screen now, that was caught by the
Yeah.
police cruiser. Second,
Yeah.
we have the 911 call,
Hmm.
and they report aliens in their yard, 9 foot, 10 foot tall aliens. And again, when we look at this family, they just look like a normal family, a normal American family. I'm going to pull them up on the screen here.
Yeah.
It,
And they did say in another interview, like, they don't need the money. This isn't about money.
no, that's
Yeah.
right. I mean, here you've got mom, father, mother and father appear to be in traditional dress, maybe Indian,
Evening wear.
evening wear, and son.
Mhm.
It's a normal family. These people ain't calling 911 and lying about an alien being in their backyard.
No, if you see something in your backyard and it's taller than you, you're going to have a call. You're going to make a call.
So that's it. So UFO,
Mhm.
an encounter, and then
Mhm.
third of all, 1 year later. So they left the house for a time because they were getting so much attention from the public and people coming down. They were getting break-ins into their house. 1 year later, they come back to mainstream media. They give an interview about the paranormal happening within their home. Crucifix going across the floor, it breaking
What was the
parts of it off. Go ahead.
Yeah, what was the major UFO sighting that was in a Netflix show where they talked about magnetism after the event?
Well, actually, when
I
we
think
interviewed Patty
Ryan Reynolds was
Greer,
in.
she spoke
Yeah,
about
that's right.
magnetism
Hmm.
within the crop circles. If any of you guys don't know who Patty Greer is, she
She's
is
worth a listen.
she's a top researcher. We did an interview. I'll make sure that we get the link to that video. An amazing, amazing woman. She had blood
Mm-hmm.
poisoning. She was very, very sick. She filmed some of the most epic moments in crop circle history. Award-winning author. She's really led the charge when it comes to crop circles. And you wouldn't believe how many crop circles, and I'm quoting her directly now because it's true. You wouldn't believe how many crop circles happen right where you are. And of
Mm-hmm.
course, the farmers don't want people to know because they don't want people coming across their field and walking across their crops and just trespassing in general, upsetting their livestock. It's not something, but Patty Greer has led this charge. She has captured some of the most amazing moments of crop circles on video, but she talks a lot about the magnetism within the crop circle. And she just went out to the crop circle and she laid there and it healed her. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
for all intents and purposes, from being
Medical miracle.
absolute miracle. I mean, she's a miracle.
Mm-hmm.
So, that's really interesting that you mentioned about the magnetism. But do you think that these three events that have happened, the UFO, the encounter, and then the supernatural, are they connected, or is there a different story going on here?
I think there's a couple of things going on with this story. I think I have my theory mind, and then I think what actually may have occurred. Because of course, with any sighting like this, there's a ton of hoaxes. So there were people who did quote unquote night mode cameras for the footage that night that appeared to show these tall beings. The night vision goggle things were ruled out. However,
Mhm.
what appeared across the sky and what is happening in the area, I think there's some synchronicity there. And that's where I wonder, I'd use the word spiritual or supernatural. Because paranormal and supernatural are kind of fishing in the same pond. But essentially, there's something occurring at that site. You can put as much hoax as you want to on something. But at the end of the day, if you have repeat anomalies, things that have been witnessed by third parties, then you've got an active area of interest.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever the family is or what their history is, whatever people have done on the internet to kind of add figures into videos and tweet those out. Those are all added layers. But at the end of the day, you still have something in the sky, and then you still have anomalies occurring in the house.
And hey,
So
I stayed away
those
from that.
anomalies are interesting.
We stayed away from that while editing this
Yeah.
video. It would have been easy to have actually put those anomalous figures that people may have added in later into their video.
Hmm.
But we didn't. It was good to stay. It was good to stay off that because you never know what's real and what's fake when you're actually looking out there. So, all I kind of looked at was the original UFO footage that came from the police camera. Um, Looked at his interview. Tried to stay away from all of that other fuzz, if you like.
Hmm. Well, and I know I was reading earlier that some UFO enthusiasts were raising doubts about this event, the initial event, because there was a circular crash site seen at the location for at least a year prior. So was this an
That's
overall
correct.
staged event? But I think when I hear of these events, here's my kind of thinking. In the day of AI, anything we see, we don't know if it's real or not. We just don't know. However, things I have seen with objects floating, and I told you, witnessed that one place where everything metal was sticking to the walls, including coins from people's pockets. An incredible sight to see. Lasted about 12 hours, and then everything just dissipated from the site. So those kinds of anomalies tell me that things are happening. Is it possible that this family took advantage of that? Sure, maybe. But there was definitely something in the sky. The movement of it was interesting.
It just doesn't seem
No,
your typical culprit, right? I
no,
mean,
yeah,
when you talk about, for instance, the guy that leaked everything from Area 51, what's his name? Name escapes me.
yeah.
He's now famous for it. But there was no record of him at the universities or anything basically that he said he was he did. There was no evidence. He's so famous. How can I forget this as a ufologist?
Because have you noticed everybody's mind is not quite the same as it was a couple of years ago? People are forgetting stuff all the time, and it's not just age. Don't tell me it's age.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's. I
Yeah,
think it's. I mean, he never worked there. But you know what? The government have got a lot to hide here. God, what was his name? I
yeah.
can't remember. Somebody tell us in the comment.
But
It's
here's the beautiful thing. I just want to segue back to the AI concept. You have all
yeah,
this AI creating artificial reality. And in a few years, I think even history itself will be difficult to tell. Printed books are worth their weight in gold right now. I was joking with somebody I should buy the old encyclopedia set, people used to sell door to door,
yeah,
because one day that will be gold.
yeah.
Because the information available is altered upon alter upon altered. Um, when it comes to supernatural, though, this has been happening since humans have written history. It's in the cave paintings. So we know that the encounters of beings with the encounters of humans has been going on all along. We've just used different language to do it. Ironic is that we're now at the point where we can explore back out into space and start going out further and further with our probes and satellites and things like that, at a time that we've created an intelligence that we have no control over. So I kind of have this fun theory I've been playing around with, and I'm sure other people have had this thought. Have we created our own end game? And is this what happened before in civilizations, whatever physical realm they are? It's just kind of
Wow.
a fun thing to think about. But
I,
it's possible, right? Because you hear the story of Babel was in multiple ancient cultures where they created the ability to sort of surpass the language barriers between people. They could unify the human mind. The result was intervention and destruction, not because humans shouldn't create, but because the consequences of it. But the consequences were named.
have you heard about
And so
that?
now we have, now we have the internet. Now we have all these kinds of things. We have AI, and we've created something that's bigger than the sum of its parts.
It's
And no one knows what's going to happen.
it's very possible. I know that certainly for certain aspects of my work, I will fall back to AI because it's just easier to do, and I think it's inherent that we are lazy as a species because we always want to find a way of doing what we are doing quicker and faster, and that would, it's something we're guilty of, and that's kind of driving us to embrace the AI. a little bit
Hmm.
more. Did you
Yeah.
hear about? So there's a conspiracy theory right now going around the internet, and it's the people are falling, and they're calling it levels or rooms or something like that. And
Mm.
did you not hear about this? This is crazy. So one minute somebody will be there, and then they'll just fall into another dimension, and they always end up in the same place. And it's a room that they fall into and they get stuck. And don't stay in the room for too long, and don't stay still. But this is a crazy conspiracy that's going on right now, and there's video footage
No,
with
send
it
me
as
the
well.
info. There's something similar in
Hmm.
the dream world. Ironically, they can read dreams now. So I don't know if you've been watching that. Apple technology has got some patents to update uh, the your earphones with technology that can actually read more as to what your brain is thinking. But there's this whole theory. It's called the Omega Point theory, that we can create an eternal loop in a nanosecond, and essentially people can live for eternity in an artificial nanosecond. So literally the eternal tunnel that's talked about in ancient times, where the great beast will be tossed into the eternal tunnel, or the never-ending tunnel. These are things that people are describing in the dream world. I haven't heard it in the physical world, but I've heard of it in the dream world, where people are caught in these long loops and they can't get out of them.
Guys, look at this picture on the screen. I just put it up. This is a picture that you are all meant to be able to associate with. Like somehow you've been there before. So this is one of them that has started it off. And it's going to be interesting to actually look into it. And I'm interested to know if any of you guys in the comments, do you feel like you've been in that room before? Because this is meant to be the
Did
actual
you?
picture. Yeah, yeah, I did.
Hmm.
I just sent it you. Do you? Yeah, I
I
feel
can see it now.
I feel like it was somewhere, and they're just empty rooms. And I just thought it was super interesting because who knows? But that's part of the conspiracy, right? That video game, and you fall in between the walls, and then you end up down here. And again, don't stay there too long. But how about you, Tim? Do you ever feel like you've been at that particular room before? Super super freaky.
This segues to something you've been talking about with Elon Musk, how he is now saying he doesn't see evidence of alien life, although he's been leaning that way. Like, he's been leaning towards believing in alien life up until very recently, if the videos are to be believed. And it occurred to me that our science is consistently saying we have to see this with physics, we have to see this with mathematics. But the multiverse theory indicates that you could have multiple realities and you're not able to measure them or see them
Hmm.
in this layer of reality of time and space. So I find it really interesting how, Neil deGrasse Tyson, Elon Musk, and others who are very vocal in this field can say, hey, we think we're in a virtual reality, but we see no evidence of aliens.
Hmm. Yeah. No,
There's something really unique happening there. But, well, I don't think
it's
Tim responded to the room.
no, no, he did not. He said he's not heard of the conspiracy, but it's
Yeah.
definitely an interesting one. And I'll tell you, when I saw this picture, I felt like I'd been there before. And I
Oh,
just
interesting.
wonder in segueing back to the paranormal activity that they have, if they are to be believed, and hey, why
Mm-hmm.
not? That it, I wonder if it's created this, I don't know, wormhole to the back door kind of thing. And that's why they currently have all of that paranormal activity.
Yeah, Tim says he hasn't experienced any of what we're describing.
Huh.
Um, a lot of people have described in their dream life where they'll be falling, and then suddenly end up in a room or a space where they've been there before.
Hmm.
Um, that's a common scenario. That kind of, it could be a room, it could be a house, it could be a specific building structure, but there's a falling sensation that goes with it. And others say they're falling in space towards something. Um, Lots of questions. For the UFO in Las Vegas, do I think there was something in the sky? Yes. Do I think it was 10-foot aliens? Not sure. Not sure.
I got a picture here, which you sent
Yeah.
me, which is the
Yeah.
color of a meteor, and it depends.
Yeah, the magnesium. Yeah.
Yeah. So this one, let's have a look at this. And the magnesium, this one is pretty on the money.
Mhm.
And of course with camera, get my words out, camera glare, maybe it does look more like it's changing shape on a camera. I mean, we've all took pictures with a camera and it's been blurred and stuff like that. So it's very, very difficult to tell. Is what that cruiser saw a meteor? I don't know. It's got to,
My initial gut, I got to be honest, was meteor.
yeah.
But when I replay the video, I see different movements. So I did some digging, and people have questioned the authenticity of the video,
Well, that's
but I
straight
don't
from
think
the Las
anyone
Vegas Police
specifically
Department.
knows. Yeah.
That is straight. That is raw footage that we have there
Yeah.
of the Las Vegas Police Department. So I'd find it really, really daunting if they
To
would have,
disprove it.
yeah, like, and it does
I
appear
like
to
the
hover.
curiosity of the officer. The
Where he says
officer's like, "Sorry."
if there's nine, if there's 9 foot aliens, don't be calling us. You all deal with it. You know, like it would be
Yeah, exactly.
it's exactly what I would said. But you know, that is authentic because he truly believes that there was something in the sky. He actually says in the video that his partner saw it come down. So we got proof that there was a crash. Then they made the 911 call. Like it's very, very hard. You know, I just want to call BS on it all, right? But you can't. There's too many
Well, there's
witnesses.
what happened in the sky. There's evidence of, and I think something clearly occurred there. The rest of it, I think I have a question mark over, not to disprove it, but to say, well, they haven't had anybody in to test the readings. They haven't had anyone verify the crucifix. Like a couple of things, I mean, granted, it would be easy to break, but when there's magnetic activity, you better believe that's something that can leave energy traces that can be measured, in my opinion. So if they're capitalizing on it, that's Vegas. However, if you look around the world at the number of people having encounters with unknown beings, it's definitely gone up. People are seeing
Yeah.
things they don't understand. They're having encounters they don't understand. There seems to be a traffic happening in encounters. But again, very hard to find in the internet, the way things are being filtered. You really have to dig and dig and dig, or have existing sources.
There is
And I think
literally
that's going to be the challenge.
there's literally nobody doing what we're doing, reporting the
Yeah.
videos and then doing a live show after it and talking about it. And we should have tens of thousands of viewers on this because we really know what we're talking about and we really research into it. I want to come to something that Tim Michaels has just said in the chat,
Oh, right. Yeah.
which is he says that that we're aware of Travis Walton story, and do we have faith in his story? And I want to take this one, Beth, because of what me and you were told by a very influential figure that was very, very high up within the government authorities. So here's the story, Tim. There was another witness to the whole event of Travis Walton. There's been many movies made out of it, many documentaries on it. I'm going to give you the pro and then I'm going to give you the con of his story. But we have it on very good ground, very, very good ground, that there was a ranger. Do you remember this, Beth?
Mm-hmm.
There was a ranger that saw the whole thing. The entire episode, him getting zapped by the UFO, being taken away by it, the other guys driving off in fear, which of course you would do, the other workers with him. And as they were about to be prosecuted for the murder of Travis Walton, because that's what was happening, he had spoken to his officer in charge, or whoever his superior was, and said, I saw this. These guys didn't kill him. He really got took up by this UFO. And he said, shall I go and speak to the police about it? and his superior said to him, you know what? If they get charged, go and speak to them. But otherwise, let's just see what happens. Let's let it play out. So one
Hmm.
day, one day, that guy, if he's still alive, because of course this was way back when now, back into into the 70s that this happened.
Hmm.
If that guy is still alive and he comes forward on a deathbed confession, it will prove Travis's story without a shadow of a doubt. Now,
Yeah.
here's the con to that whole story. Travis Walton went on a game show to talk about his experience. It was a lie detector game show, and he failed the lie detector. He's passed multiple others from what I understand, but he failed the lie detector on this game show. Now, first of
Hmm.
all, he's on TV where the government have covered this whole subject of UFO, alien abductions, the whole thing up for years and years and years. And you go on media that probably is taking the government's side, because they do.
Or it was
Um,
a setup, which is the
it was a
thought. It was
setup.
a setup all along.
It
Yeah.
was a total setup. But that
Mm.
that is the con to the story. Did he fail the lie detector test? These guys have never changed their story ever since. All of them have kept to the exact story on what happened. So do I think that Travis Walton was zapped by a UFO and was he abducted? I think it's the best evidence there is out there. Yeah, I think he's credible.
I think my takeaway from that whole story when we dug into it is the fact that people who additional witnesses, and we know there's one for sure, possibly rumors of another. The way that investigations were handled in a controlled way prohibited cross examination of witnesses. Um, I was watching another story with an older gentleman and a young guy who had an alien encounter story, and they just recently released the audio that somebody had secretly taken from the police investigation room when these two gentlemen thought that nobody else was there. And they confirmed their story. They were talking as if, like, who's going to believe us? How do we handle this? What do you do with this? They weren't saying, hey, do you think they bought our story?
Mm-hmm.
And this was years ago, before recording was really a big thing. There's countless stories of people encountering aliens, and the witnesses are treated in a controlled manner, which then dishonors the story or breaks it up, or it's called conspiracy theory, and people are shamed for looking into it.
Well, look, I
That's why I
mean,
think the whole pursuit of disclosure is moot, because the
yeah,
evidence isn't just there. There's so much evidence. It's not just a little bit. There's so much evidence. There's libraries of evidence. Um, but it really comes down to, do we know that there's encounters of beings? Yes. Do we know what they are quantitatively and through physics? Maybe not. But there is an increase in activity happening now at a time when AI makes it even more difficult to investigate.
very much
But
so.
we'll keep looking.
We have to keep looking, and that's the whole point of it. And as far
Mhm.
as the government releasing the data, I mean, we don't have to look too far to know that
Yeah.
they've shrouded data from us all along. We're talking about an establishment that has used LSD as a form of mind control on the population. They created a
Mhm.
heart attack gun, so you can get
Mhm.
shot, have a heart attack, and nobody will know that you got shot from this gun. There are many conspiracy theories where our governments haven't been real with us. And let's face it, I understand why they're not real with us. I mean, there are a lot of unscrupulous people out there, and there are certain things that I'm glad that they keep to themselves in many ways. However, when it comes to poisoning your own people with drugs, um, the Canadian government doing a gay test on their public servants because they were too scared that the public service had become too homosexual. I mean, this is our government. This is poisoning, poisoning and sterilizing. I mean, there's a massive problem here in Canada, which is very modern day. I mean, this isn't ancient history. This is, the 1990s of where they have taken the native population, the First Nations, and been absolutely abysmal. I mean, we have children's graves they're uncovering now. So, I mean, if anybody doesn't trust the government really, they only have themselves to blame, let's face it. And I can go on and on and on and on about this subject. And this is why it's important that we don't just have the government looking at this. The only way that we find these things out is by you and me and the people that are willing to watch, like, and subscribe to the channel, actually talking about this and getting to the bottom of it. And that's why we're not just releasing a video anymore and just putting it out there and being like, hey, this happened. We're actually having a look at these stories. And honestly, I don't know if any
Besides the fact that the algorithm gods decided to shut us down and effectively do so for an extended period of time, but it doesn't mean we won't have the conversation.
No,
and I think that's what's exciting.
That's right. Yeah, we're doing this to be here, to be 100% real. Do I think that this craft on this thing on the screen here from the police cruiser is a UFO? I don't know.
I don't know. You can't tell me with the amount of cameras in Vegas, and I know we're wrapping up here, so this will be my last comment. But there's surely more cameras on this meteor, and what astounds me is how little information is out in regards to this. It is so difficult now to find basic information that, Vegas, there's cameras everywhere. Everyone's got a cell phone. They're all taking selfies. With a meteor of that size, there should be a lot of evidence. So I'll keep looking, and of course, always send us our comments. We do read them because we're a small community now. And thank you guys for being a part of it. I'm thankful.
Yep, and I'm going to leave you guys with one more thing here, to connect the three things together: the UFO, the encounter, and the paranormal activity.
Drum roll.
We interviewed an FBI agent. He's known as the X-Man. And this was when we were getting millions of views. He talked to us about this, and I was very skeptical of what his deliberation was on it. But he believed that the vast majority, if not everything, of these UFO sightings, and I pressed him hard, uncomfortably hard in the interview, were fallen angels. He's the FBI. He's the FBI inspector. He's been in charge of all these files. He's known as the X-Man. Great guy. Still message him from time to time. haven't for a while. Great guy. But that's what he believed it is. And if you were going to combine all three of the events of this Vegas UFO paranormal alien invasion story, gosh, it's got it all, really. I mean, it's got everything.
It's got all the elements, and furthermore, it has a web of disinformation and hop-ons, people who want to take on their own internet fame by creating a video. It'll make it really tough, but maybe one day, you never know, we can talk to the family when all the cameras are off. Those are my favorite conversations to have. Yeah. When nobody's around to
yeah, and we've had a lot of them in our time. In fact, that's when most of our information has come. And yeah, it's interesting. Who knows what it is? It could be God. It could be fallen angels. It could be paranormal. It could be, we just don't know. But we're going to carry on looking. And my mind is open where it was more closed just a few years ago.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, everyone, for joining us tonight.
Yeah, thanks, Tim, Clinton, all you guys that have commented. I look forward to these live streams just growing bigger and bigger, and us really embracing the conversation. We'll have a new video out on Sunday, and we'll have another live chat next Thursday and talk about it. Make sure you tune in, hit the like button, guys, and subscribe. It's super important. I think we're the only channel now actually looking at this in this kind of light. And we have run 16 minutes over because we can talk about this forever.
Thanks so much to discuss. Okay.